What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Core Podcast covering all things Apple TV. My name is Jim, and I'm joined by my co-host Dave, and today we continue our coverage of Hijack Season 2. Today we are covering Season 2, Episode 5. But before we get into it, this is the Core Podcast. We cover all things Apple TV. We got to talk a little bit of news here, right? So a lot has happened in the last week or so. Apple TV had a big, basically, presentation giving us a lot of information coming for the next year or so. And there's a lot of new TV shows and movies coming within the next year, but I will get into all of that in our news episode later this week. But there's just a few things that, Dave, I need to talk to you about some stuff. First things first, it's just a rumor here, okay? We have rumors going on. The presentation came out with a schedule for the rest of the year, for the most part, for the TV and movies coming out. And Silo and Dark Matter were not on there. But there's also shows that were not on there, like Ted Lasso, and we know that there's certain shows like Ted Lasso that are coming out this year. They just were not announced. So because Silo and Dark Matter aren't on there, we don't have to worry yet. Major rumors here that Silo and Dark Matter may be almost back-to-back May and June, July-ish in 2026. So not that far away, which would be pretty damn big for us. I was worrying that Silo might not happen until the end of 2026. Again, these are some major rumors, and I want to emphasize rumor. There's no proof, there's no verification of this, but if we get a back-to-back Silo and Dark Matter, this podcast is going to be busy and living the dream. I don't know how we're going to do that because I need to be on both of those, so I'm going to be doing some double-duty core podcasting here. Dave, what are your thoughts here? Me and you were the ones covering Silos, so did you end up watching Dark Matter? I don't believe I asked you that before.
Yeah, so Dark Matter was one that I had watched. Obviously, me, you, and T Money were on the Silo podcast. So, of course, super excited for Silo Season 3. I think personally, Silo Season 2 overall was better than Season 1, even though maybe some people had a little bit of not met expectations. But I think looking back, I really enjoyed Season 2. And it might have been one of those like build-up seasons for Season 3, you know. But I truly cannot wait to break down Silo again. That was always one of my favorite recordings with you, me, and T Money. And then, of course, for Dark Matter, that was one. So I was not on that podcast, but that is one that I had watched in my spare time. And boy, was Dark Matter a trip. I know it was based off the book. And I know even on our podcast, we had a chance to interview with the author, Blake Crouch. But behind the scenes, I watched it on my own, and I was mesmerized by the show. It was one of those shows that I legitimately could not put down until I finished it. I know it came out. What was it like? Feels like 20.
It's been 2 years, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it was probably 2024. I mean, we're hitting around 2 years ish. I would say maybe a year and a half. I don't think it's longer than 2 years. I'll double check.
It has one of those plots that I don't want to give away too much without giving away too much, because I know some people might not have seen it. But if you want to have your mind melted a little bit and a little bit of, multiverse kind of stuff, that is a great show that doesn't overcomplicate it in a way that you can easily follow. And the characters are so good. The acting is amazing in it. And like you said, Season 2 is on the horizon, which is going to be new content from the book, which I'm super excited for. Blake Crouch is going to be a part of it. He's all in on it. And even though he hasn't came out with this book yet, the sequel to his original book,
I don't think it's going to be a book. I think he's literally just expanding on the TV show. And that's what's really cool. Like you said, we talked to Blake on the podcast, and we asked him, because the Core podcast, when we covered it, we were like, that was really good TV. We don't need another season. I think we're good. And we said to Blake, we're like, do you plan on having another season? And at the time, it wasn't greenlit yet. And he said, I can't let you know specifically, but I have some more to say if there's an opportunity. And then he said also, I won't do it unless I think it's worth it. And after seeing Season 1, we very much so trust him. So if he thinks there's more stories to tell and can tell, I am fully in. I cannot wait for Dark Matter season 2. Hopefully, we'll talk to him again. And let's just segue right into the next thing, Dave, because Dark Matter season 2, Blake Crouch picked Apple TV for a reason. And he picked it because they gave him the trust, the loyalty to do a show, to create a show, how he thinks it should be created. He is the original creator of this entity, right? He wrote the book. We know the deal, man. Usually, the person who writes the source material is correct in how an adaptation should be. As soon as you know who stop paying attention to George R. R. Martin, boom, 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 going downhill.
Right.
And that is pretty pretty consistent with a lot of adaptations. So Hugh Howey, speaking of Silo, he is not the creator of the TV show, but he is very much so a consultant, and he again picked Apple because he believed that they would do it correctly. Now here's the segue. Brandon Sanderson, he has signed one of the
Whoop,
best
whoop.
adaptation deals of all time for an author to the screen. Apple TV gave Brandon Sanderson full creative control of the Mistborn series, that will be a trilogy series, film series, and the Stormlight Archive, which will be a television series. Brandon Sanderson also said the Cosmere in general will be adapted to television slash film for Apple TV. So he obviously has a lot of other books in the Cosmere, so we'll see if they get adapted. But Brandon Sanderson himself is writing the screenplay for the 3-film trilogy, and then he will be basically getting final cut of the TV series, which, for the last time, George R. R. Martin, he puts as much into it as they'll allow him to, but the showrunners can just say, all right, that's a good idea, but nah, we're good. We're going to do our own thing. Brandon Sanderson literally is writing the screenplay for the Mistborn series, and he will say, if he says, hey, I don't like this, oh, that's getting cut. If I want this changed, we're going to change that. This is something that doesn't really happen in adaptations for contracts and for deals. This is one of the first ever. Now, again, Dark Matter with Blake Crouch, Hugh Howey with Silo, and not an author, but Vince Gilligan for Pluribus. They're choosing Apple TV because Apple TV is giving them the trust to create, and they're not going to meddle with it. They're not going to get in the middle with it and try to change things. They'll give notes, of course, and for Pluribus, we knew that they gave notes to Vince Gilligan, and he actually liked their notes and changed a few things. But Apple TV is becoming the streaming service where creators can come and they can feel trusted. And this is awesome for Apple TV, one of the biggest deals ever. We have Game of Thrones in the fantasy world, one of the biggest TV shows, television series of all time. We all know that. We had The Wheel of Time come to Amazon Prime, and it was sadly canceled after the 3rd season. And ironically, the 3rd season was the best season. And then we have The Rings of Power. We have The Witcher. All these adaptations, they're trying to be the next Game of Thrones. But with Brandon Sanderson being behind the wheel, I feel like the Cosmere is going to be enormous. Now, I'm not saying we're getting Game of Thrones here. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I will say is if Brandon Sanderson's behind the wheel, we are going to get phenomenal content, especially if you're a fan of the Cosmere as a reader. If you're not, jump right in as a reader. If you don't want to read, jump right in, and I'm sure Brandon Sanderson will make sure with the film series slash the TV series that you don't need to know the book source material. He'll introduce you while watching the television show or the movie. So it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
A lot to break down here because the first thing I'll say is the greatest sin in our friend group is me probably having never read the Cosmere series because everyone in our friend group, a lot of the Binge Town hosts are obsessed with Cosmere. They've been reading it for, I want to say, decades at this point, maybe from college-ish is when they started it all. So while I have never partaken in it, I am very aware of what it's all about. The guys constantly there is high praise all the time whenever they're talking Cosmere. Our big thing originally was One Piece, obviously still is, coincidentally wearing a One Piece shirt. But the newest thing that has become like our obsession, or at least their obsession, has been Cosmere. And the one
Yes.
thing that I will agree with you 100% on is all these guys are going to Apple TV. And that's because Apple TV is just proving that they are just the sci-fi fantasy dogs right now. They've produced a lot of great television shows, and even ones that have gotten canceled were great sci-fi shows. Like I'm thinking of Constellation. I truly enjoyed Constellation. Unfortunately, that didn't make it. That got canceled. But that was still a very good show, and you could feel the effects of Apple TV. And this is what one other thing I'm going to bring up that's such a negative is Wheel of Time. One of the books, a
Yeah.
book that I had series that I had never read, was super hyped up within our friend group from Kyle as a TV show that was going to possibly be the new Game of Thrones. And for me, it was reaching that peak. We were getting into just breaking the iceberg with all this stuff. And then Amazon Prime closes it down.
Yep.
I will never forgive Amazon Prime for that. But I do not. Apple TV is not Amazon Prime. And again,
Right.
they are clearly going out of the way to get the originators, or at least the idea minds behind these shows, behind these books, to try and help create the best TV that they possibly can. And Brandon Sanderson is one of the most vocal social media authors you will ever see in the modern era, in terms of he has his own YouTube channel that he posts updates to constantly about books that he's working on, things that are going on in his life. Like I think had announced on his YouTube channel that this was coming like a while ago, or at least hinted at it years ago. And now it's actually coming true. So if you are obsessed with Cosmere, and you should obviously be following Brandon Sanderson on YouTube, it's honestly, again, for someone who hasn't experienced the Cosmere fully, to see someone that is the antithesis of George R. R. Martin in the fact that they're so vocal and communicative with their fan base, it's unbelievable. And that just only shows the amount of trust and love that he is going to put into this. And Brandon Sanderson, again, while we're on the topic, also on the topic of Wheel of Time, was responsible for writing the end of Wheel of Time when the author had passed away at that point for the series. And the one that they trusted to finish the series was Brandon Sanderson. And it's just, this guy has such great credentials, and he is such a passionate author, and you can feel it in his YouTube videos, his Instagram, all of that. He is just so willing to talk to his fans and get feedback. This is gonna be the show, I think. When this comes out, this will be hopefully a lot of the Wheel of Time people, a lot of Game of Thrones people will have heard of this by then, and they market it well. This should be the next big fantasy show in my mind. Like I can't think of anything bigger, honestly. There's not a even bigger fantasy verse that I'm aware of. I'm not a big book reader. Like I don't read many books, but in my mind, this is like the pinnacle of all fantasy right now.
Yeah, besides Harry Potter coming back for HBO Max,
True.
I guess now HBO, whatever they're called nowadays, Max, HBO Max, Harry Potter is going to be huge. But I believe that the Cosmere, within its own universe for Apple TV, is going to be one of the crown jewels for Apple TV in the years
Wheel
to
of
come.
Time,
I think that
Wheel of Time really should have been that, man. And it's so disappointing because I loved Wheel of Time, and this void that I've been feeling since Wheel of Time's been cut out is immediately going to get filled in with Cosmere, especially, and also like shows like The Witcher. I mean, we watched the newest season of Witcher. It was whatever, but that's another fantasy show that kind of just fell. It had a hard drop off, and we're not seeing consistent fantasy shows anymore that can nail a solid ending. Like the last one I can think of is the one that we cover on the podcast, goddamn Uhtred of Bebbanburg. I keep thinking Knights of the Seven. Last Kingdom. I kept thinking Knights of the Seven Kingdom because that's coming out obviously as well. But that feels like the last show that had a good ending for a fantasy show, you know, or like that wasn't fantasy, but like that feeling of TV, you know, medieval-esque.
Dave, you've been nailing the segues for me lately in this episode, and I just have to bring it up right now. I'm ready to blow your mind. We love talking about when we're watching a TV show and we see somebody and we're looking at them and we're staring at them and we're like, who are you? What are you in? What do I love you from? Right? Now, we obviously had Lisa Viscari as Clara Berger, and that was a big one for us because we love Dark. But you brought up The Last Kingdom, Dave. And this guy that we've been talking about for a couple episodes, drug guy, leather jacket guy, long hair guy. Who are you?
Right.
He is Sig Trigger from The Last Kingdom,
No, he's
seasons 4 and
not.
5.
No,
Yes,
he's
he
not.
is.
No, he
So
is not. There's
I
no
didn't
way.
see that until this episode. I'm watching this episode and I'm looking at him and I'm like, I know you, man. I totally know you. And he's obviously getting more screen time in this episode. In
Mhm.
the last couple episodes, he was a couple lines here, a couple lines there, walking up and down the train, looking suspicious, but he wasn't really having a lot of speaking roles. And obviously, he takes control in this episode. I know a lot of viewers, listeners may not care that much, but The Last Kingdom is a huge TV show that we covered on the podcast. This would have been on Binge Empire podcast, guys. Check out our Binge Empire podcast if you haven't. An all-timer for the Binge Empire podcast, The Last Kingdom. He is Sig Trigger from The Last Kingdom, and he really doesn't have any like major credits right now besides The Last Kingdom. He's not even really being credited on Hijack. It was tough for me to actually find this. He's
Mhm.
called Anders on some credits on websites, but I don't even know if I saw it in the actual credits of the TV show. When he speaks on the screeners, for us at least, it says person one. It doesn't even give him a name. So either way, props to him. Good for him. I'm so happy to see him on our television show. And now, or on our screens. And now we can finally talk some Hijack, guys. It's been a little bit. We talked for 15 minutes or so about Apple TV and not Hijack. But let's get into this because this was a good episode. It was the shortest episode of the season, of course, but it was definitely a very good episode, I thought. A lot of questions were answered. A lot of things where we were like, dude,
Yeah,
what's the deal here? The
the
bomb.
number.
I was staring at that damn bomb. Okay, so it shows the bomb to start the episode, and it said 3 minutes and 14 seconds. I
Yep.
zoomed in, I paused, and I hit play, and I watched it be seconds, and I was like, that is minutes and seconds. That is not hours. And like you said, last episode it was 5 something. So something
Mhm.
was going on here, and I did not know what the deal was. Let's just talk about that quick reveal now. Whether her name's Jess or not, I don't know. But the doctor lady, the medic, the person that's working for John Bailey Brown, she has this, what we thought was a detonator. And
Mhm.
I'm giving this reveal away, but we'll talk more about it throughout this episode. But the reveal is that the detonator is actually a timer, and it's resetting the timer every 15 minutes. So
Mhm.
it is a ticking time bomb. It is ticking down to 0. And if it hits 0, which we see at the end of this episode, it will blow up. She's not hitting the button to make it blow up. She is restarting the timer so that every 15 minutes, if everything is going to plan, she knows hit the button or set the code, hit the button, and then each carriage's bombs, which we find out are 8 in total, will be reset on the timer and it will save everybody for another 15 minutes or so. So I like that reveal. I thought that was
Yeah.
good.
100% was totally on board because I really didn't want to believe it was a 5-minute timer that we had seen. The only issue that you ever have with timers in this, it's like, we see so many different scenes and the pacing of timing things is always weird. It's like we're watching multiple scenes and then we get another look at the timer. And at the start of it, we see 3 minutes. And it's like, okay, so we're implied
Right.
2 minutes and
Yeah.
all this stuff is happening. We're supposed to believe it's under 2 minutes, whatever. But I like
Well,
this
and
twist on it.
we can assume she is hitting the button when she's supposed to because like you said, there's a moment where they say this is going to happen in 30 minutes. We will be there in 30 minutes. And then there's another moment where they say we're 27 minutes out. So at that time, 3 minutes passed. And I'm
Yeah.
going, there's 3 minutes. But we can assume that before shit hits the fan, she is doing as she's supposed to when she's hitting the button and restarting the timer.
Yeah, and I think in the scene too, right at the beginning of the episode, when Sam Nelson sees her go into the cabin, like right behind the cockpit, I forget what we're calling it, but it's the one right behind. She's all by herself. She looks in her purse and then backs away. So we can assume in those moments, especially, and I feel like even thinking back on last episodes, it feels like we do see her in her purse pretty
Yeah.
often. It feels like
Mhm.
so it makes sense that she would be constantly triggering it, and it makes it just more like messed up in the sense that yes, she can control the fact that they get reset, but it just only kind of proves again that she's forced to do all this. Like they could have just strapped a bomb on there and just said, 45 minutes, but they really needed someone that was watching and making sure that it wasn't just on a 45-minute timer, but like things are moving, things are happening. It's not just like a 45-minute timer of how are we going to solve this case. It puts pressure on everybody to consistently have basically 12-minute intervals of making sure that we are moving this train and doing what we need to do. So this was a really good twist on it. It was so funny that like that gets answered within the first like half of the episode, and last episode we're kind of just like coping with how we're playing this out. Like the bomb is at 5 minutes. There's no way. So great for them to actually explain it to us. I think this is definitely something that's kind of new in these these scenarios for me of like having a code that you need to reset the bomb with. So this is like something different that I think Hijack did well for sure.
And I will say they wrote this well with the detonator actually not work, or the timer not actually working for the final bomb, because in my head I'm watching this and I'm going, they're not going to get this done in time when she's given the code and he's hitting the code. I'm like, that is not going to work if they're all on the same timer. And of course, it didn't work. So let's start from the beginning and we'll get this all talked about here. But first things first, Sam, from the last episode, he was very suspicious of the medic lady and he was watching her. And at some point, he sees her come back onto the train into the carriage right before the cockpit, and he sees that she's kind of messing with her bag, and he slams the brakes on the train, makes the the timer fall out of her hands, and he knows that this is something I need to get. So while all this is going on, something that we thought should happen did happen, and that was the people on the train were finally saying, should we fight back here? This is one dude. And of course, it's our boy Sig Trigger from The Last Kingdom, but, the leather jacket, long hair guy, he is saying, yo, I don't think he's armed. Exactly what I said. I don't think he's armed. I think all of us can take him. There's a couple people saying yes, a couple people say no. You could see that if her name's Jess, the medic lady is a little upset about this. She's getting a little nervous. She knows this isn't supposed to happen. We have the older lady being a little like sketchy too, like what's happening, what's going on. We'll talk about her plenty. And as this is happening, Sam, of course, is just like, hey, I'm going to come out and talk to all these people. Yeah. Great timing from our boy. But he tells Otto, when I tell you, well, he says in a minute, 60 seconds, we're going to time it down. When 60 seconds hits, kill the lights. And this is obviously something where he wants a distraction, but the problem is here that he's going out into the carriage when everybody is kind of ready to fight. And he goes out there, he's talking, they're kind of talking back, and he's giving the look at the medic lady because he knows that he knows that she knows that he knows that she knows that they're in this together kind of. And as the lights go out, he bumps her, tries to take the timer out of her bag. She's kind of fighting back, and then the leather jacket, long hair guy hits him, knocks him on his ass, and then ties him up. So now Sam is no longer in control of this train. He was never actually in control of this whole scenario, but he's not actually the one controlling this plan, and they have him tied up.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we were asking ourselves in the last episode, we couldn't remember if the hostages knew about the bombs or not. And this cleared it up right away as well, where May vocally says, we can't just jump him because there's bombs. Passengers, of course, are antsy. They're not going to just be threatened by bombs, especially when they haven't seen even a gun or like any kind of trigger. So they're feeling like they can take him on, and they think the bombs are probably on a detonator as well. So as long as they disarm him, then they don't have to worry about the bombs in general. So I was actually surprised to see that he got taken out by the passengers. Like I thought the lights were going to go off and he was just going to get the switch and, we would be moving on to the next part of the plan. I think this was an interesting take on the whole hijacking scene, because now we have to have Sam explain why he's hijacking the train. But yes, obviously the old woman scouts out the nurse a little bit and is being a little sketchy of her. The nurse,
Mm-hmm.
Sam is clearly protecting the nurse, which I also thought was interesting because we know that, again, he is always trying to do things for himself. But again, I think if the passengers had found out in the situation that it was her and not him with the detonator, that only just adds more chaos. Like we see
Oh
it at the
yeah,
end. We see
we
it
saw
right
what
at the end
happens.
of what
Yep.
happens. Yeah. Like everyone just goes crazy. They start jumping and they're not aware that the bomb is more complicated than just, oh, if we have the detonator, then we're safe. It's not that easy. So
Right.
this didn't work out well for Sam, but I like that this is now forcing them to all work together. It makes me feel a little bit safer on the train in terms of, okay, we have more minds to put onto the plan and get them off. And they don't also think that Sam is maybe necessarily the bad guy like anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So after he's tied up, it takes a little bit, of course, right? He is trying to talk to them and he's saying, listen, you're not doing the right thing here. Everyone's going to die. There's bombs on the train. And at first, Leather Jacket guy and his buddy, the other guy that's riled up, they're all
mhm.
saying, hey, man, like, how do we even know that there's bombs here? Like, what if you're just bullshitting us? So they also go to Otto, and Otto's kind of just like cracking like an egg, and he's like, I don't know,
Yeah,
man, I'm not supposed to be
I
part
didn't
of
hurt
this.
anybody.
Yeah. And they say stop the train, and this is the first time the train stops
Mhm.
in this episode. And immediately Clara notices it. Ada notices it. Everyone in the room at HQ, the military, are saying if this doesn't go correctly, if this train is stopped and we don't meet at that 30-minute mark with John Bailey Brown and the train and Sam, this is not worth it. We need to get JBB out of here because he's vulnerable to be taken back or whatever it is, right? So with the train stopped, this is where a lot of the big conversation happens, right? Sam
Mhm.
proves to them that there's bombs. Otto gives the key. They look under. The guy looks under the train, sees the ticking time bomb, and he also goes to every carriage and notices that there's eight total. There's eight
Mhm.
total bombs, and this is obviously news to us as well. During all
Right.
of this, Jess slash the medic lady is very uncomfortable, of course, and like you said, the older lady is definitely clocking her. There's also another girl that's on the side of the leather jacket, long hair guy who's the one actually holding the radio for Sam because she took it from him. And Sam starts to actually open up because he knows he has to. So it ends up becoming a reveal to them, meaning the train hostages, that Sam is doing this under duress. Otto tells them that the guy who they're trying to get back, who Sam's trying to get back with the hostage situation, is the person who killed his son. They say, why would you do that? And he said, well, because they have the mother as well, and he's going to kill the mother of my child if I don't follow his instructions. So obviously now the hostages are starting to get a little bit more sympathetic for Sam. They're obviously going to keep him tied up for now, but they're being more sympathetic towards him, understanding that he is doing this under duress. May is having the light bulbs go off because she knows she was right. She's happy that she was right here. And they decide they're going to kind of work with Sam. So they allow Sam to talk on the radio to Ada and get the train moving again. So we're still back on schedule. And during all of this, we have some flashes to other parts of the episode, mainly John Bailey Brown in the car, and he's playing the game where he's like, where are you taking me? I mean, I fully believe that he knows where they're taking him. I think he knows what the plan is, but I mean, what did you think of with that? Did you think that he's just playing the game here, or
It's so hard to say because of how intimidating and smart and calculated they've made him seem. I have always been under the impression that he knows what's going on. Like he's
yeah, I
acting
agree.
dumb. Yes, he could totally not know what's going on. But again, the fact that Sam is the one hijacking this train, it just feels like, again, John Bailey Brown and Sam have had some kind of contact in the past few months, formulated this plan, and like JBB is clearly aware of what's going on. So
Yeah,
he's acting innocent. I don't think he is. He totally could be, but as of right now, I'm under the assumption that he just like this is just all going according to plan.
yeah, I agree. And a little bit of a side storyline here is the detective actually does go and follows the coaster to the bar. He goes to the bar and he sees a local and he asks about Sam. If he noticed Sam was here, the local says, or the regular says, he was here yesterday. And he says he sat with someone who was British and full of himself. Do you have any guesses or theories for that?
I my first mind was Danny, but then it's like Danny was surprised about this whole like that Sam was even in on the
You
train and whatnot in town.
meaning Marsha's boyfriend?
Yeah, like Marsha's
Oh, so
boyfriend.
you're saying that he'd be bad then if
Yeah, so like no, I'm not saying like he was bad. Like it's so hard to say, but
my
yeah.
assumption here is that whoever he talked to yesterday is who he finalized the plan with,
So
right? That
you're
was his
thinking that the British
contact.
I took it as the British officer, like he is whoever the British officer he was speaking to with is like someone that he is working with to try and maybe resolve the issue. I took it as like it wasn't someone that
Okay.
but
I
now that you say it though, I am also now realizing yes, it's probably he met with a British officer that probably evil. Like they were formulating the plan, but I
right.
at first watch I took it as like how I took it was like of timelines of things is like JBB gave Sam Nelson the plan of hijack this train. Sam
Mhm.
meets with a British officer and tells them like I'm about to hijack this train because when did they say they meet? They met yesterday,
The
right?
day before. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it felt like to me it maybe was like a last ditch effort of crying, not a cry for help, but just like getting someone's help to say, I am going to hijack this train. Let's finalize our backup solution. But now that you're saying that, it also makes me think, okay, yes, could have just been a straight up like, let's finalize the evil plan. Like it's not like we're, I couldn't
Yeah.
think of a name though. I couldn't think of one.
My thoughts here are that if the person is being described as arrogant, I would think that that means the regular is describing somebody that we're not going to like. So if
Right.
Sam is going to an officer and saying, "Hey, listen, I'm under duress. I'm about to hijack a train. Help me." Number one, we haven't really had anybody help him yet, unless for some reason this person is still, for whatever reason, part of the plan. He's keeping himself a secret until he's necessary. And number two, I would think that it would be somebody possibly setting up this plan or finalizing this plan because we know that Sam hasn't been face to face with JBB, or at least we would
Mhm.
assume so because JBB's been in the safe house, and there's obviously going to be someone who contacted Sam to get this party started. So the description of arrogant to me just doesn't seem like it's going to be somebody that we like. It's like if you introduce a British officer that's on our side in episode 6 or something, and then he's like arrogant. I mean, there can be arrogant protagonists that we could say are charmingly arrogant, but I just feel like it's being described that way so that we think he's kind of an ass. Now, originally I went Peter Faber, but the
Yeah, I was
segue
kind of also
there
thinking that too a little bit.
Now, the segue there is the conversation that Olivia has with Peter Faber when she goes to meet with him.
Right.
I don't think this works anymore because Peter
Mhm.
Faber goes to talk to Sam, obviously, first off. If he's going to talk to Sam at the train, a couple episodes ago when Freddy was dead, that just doesn't make sense unless you're really going to play devil's advocate and say Peter's playing a role because he's a spy and blah, 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 blah. But number two here is that he's speaking with Olivia saying, give me everything you got. I want to help here. I need to figure this out. We've been dealing with JBB and trying to lock this down. We had the CCTV scrubbed. I did it personally. So there is something going on here where somebody gave Sam this information, and I need to know who did it. And Olivia said she's got somebody that can help. We don't know who that is yet. I'm assuming it may be the person that she talked to, her superior, earlier in the season
And they're from Germany,
when
is what they said, right? Like, or they said, do you have anyone that you can talk to? And was it your contact in Germany or in England? They said,
I thought he said a British contact,
could
but
this
I'm not
British contact
positive.
be also the person that we're assuming Sam met with as well?
Yeah, I
Like, is
mean,
this
yeah, again, that could totally be it. But my only question would be, why isn't that person helping? in this scenario
Like
already.
currently right now, right? Yeah.
Right. Like, why didn't. So Sam goes to this person at the pub and says, hey, I'm under duress. I'm about to do something bad here. Help me out. This person hasn't helped out yet, and he hasn't revealed himself yet. But, there's always things you can talk about where Sam could say, like, I don't want you to reveal yourself because Marsha's under threat, and I need to make sure that's taken care of first. I need, there's things that can be reasoned.
Do you think this officer is someone that we've met, or is just going to be a new character? Like, I can't think of anyone from season
I
one that would have been
agree.
important enough to bring back, unless it was another victim of, like, one of the hijackers. But he specifically
Yeah.
said a guy too, right? Like, they said a guy.
Yeah, he said an
Yeah.
arrogant guy. So I
Like,
don't know.
Stewart
I
would have
mean, I
been
feel
great,
like,
but he's obviously in jail, like.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about him too. So
Mm,
Daniel goes to visit Stewart in jail. And for anyone listening who didn't recognize him, they pretty much explain it well. But
yeah.
Hijack season 1 was a couple years ago. So Stewart is pretty much the main guy who was the hijacker of the plane that Sam was on.
I'm also going to say I watched this episode right after our podcast discussion, and it was like nighttime. And Stewart comes on the screen, and I might be crazy, and hopefully I'm not the only one that thought this, but I'm like, why is John Bailey Brown in prison? I was like, how did he get from the car to here? And then they said Stewart, and I was like, I'm an idiot. I just maybe it was me getting drowsy and sleepy and my eyes were fully awake, but I was like, why is JBB here? Why are we meeting
John
him?
Bailey Brown in this season, they gave him like the big beard and shaggy hair look. I
Yeah.
don't believe he had that last season, so I don't think you're off here by just saying,
Okay.
because the problem is that with Hijack, this is for the thousandth time. This is a great binge show, but you're not giving me too much. I'm not sitting in this world and watching it for 10 episodes for the first season, 10 episodes for the second season. I have some connections to these characters, and I don't feel things when you reveal Stewart to me. Like, I just go, hey, that's kind of cool. It's the guy from season 1, right?
Hmm.
I don't care, to be honest. But
Yeah.
it's a reveal, quote unquote, everybody drink for a reveal. But it's not somebody where I'm like, oh, that's my boy Stewart from season 1. Like, I really don't,
Right.
there's no one that's going to be revealed that I'm going to say that. Like, the only person I really care about is Sam. And then, yes, I care about Marsha and I care about Daniel because they had more of a part in season 1. But yeah,
Sam's the
Stewart
only
coming
one that
back.
you feel for 100%. He's the
Yeah,
only one
yeah.
that's important. It's the story is about him and his situation. Like, everyone else is whatever.
And this was obviously done to give Daniel something to do and for us to do the point, the Leonardo DiCaprio having his scotch and his cigarette and pointing to the TV screen saying,
Yep.
saying there's Stewart from season 1, because he basically says, hey, it's the life. I was supposed
Yeah,
to
I'm
die
not
in
gonna
season
help.
1. I don't have any help for you. I don't know anything at all. I mean, you could say whatever you want. You don't need to reduce my sentence. You don't need to give me a bigger cell because I don't have any answers for you. Talk to you later.
And I don't think that's going to be the end of him either, obviously, because the scene was so nothing, because it was
Yeah.
they pressed him about his mom, and it's like it looked like we were maybe going to get some information, but he holds strong to his beliefs of, I don't know anything. I fully accepted this life of either dying in here, dying out there. So, and I don't think they're just going to walk away from that. Like, that would have then having that scene altogether would be just, there would be 0 point to it. So
And
I think he's
and
going to
I'm
break at some
worried.
point.
I'm worried for our hijack writers about that because I don't know that they'll give him any more time. I feel like it was
And
just to give
what
Daniel something to do.
could he know? I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
from what I remember of season 1, it was just kind of like they were hired and were just only communicated through like cell phones of what they needed to do. It wasn't like it didn't feel like they were ever a big enough part
No,
where they had ever even met John Bailey Brown or even like
and
know anything about him.
and that's pretty much his point. He was like, "Hey man, I was supposed to die. The plan didn't go the way it was supposed to. So it ended up being that I didn't die, but I'm in jail for the rest of my life. Now I'm useless to John Bailey Brown. I was just a guy he hired." And we
Mhm.
talked about it when it comes to the medic lady, I wish we could confirm that her name was Jess, so I could just call her Jess. I hate saying the medic lady, and it's the same with Sig Trigger's actor, where we're calling him long hair, leather jacket guy, and I think it said his name was Anders or Anders. It's just tough because I feel like this is on the writers as well. Like, this is why I don't care about Stewart. I didn't even freaking know his name was Stewart in season one. You just say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm Stewart. So that kind of stuff is where you're not living in this world with these characters. You care about Sam, you know Marsha's name, you care about Marsha, you care about Daniel to a certain point, but otherwise, I mean, I care about Clara Berger because she's my girl from Dark. So,
Right.
but anyway, now we have on the train here, we're back on track for a little bit, and Sam gave him all the information. John Bailey Brown is still on his way. But this lady, this sketchy lady, she feels like she knows something. She feels like there's something going on, and she wants to get involved. She talked to May a couple episodes ago, last episode, saying, my job used to be to watch. I feel like there's got to be more to her. Her husband is very protective of her, but also feels like she's capable. I don't know what her deal is, but either way, she goes onto the main carriage where everybody else is, and she starts questioning Jess because, and again, medic lady, because she talks to May first, and she tells May, like, why are we just going to let this happen? Because the hostages do seem to be calmed down, knowing from Sam. Sam says, listen, once we get JBB on this train, you guys are going to get let go. Now, the cynic in me, the person who watches too much TV, if I was on that train, I would be like, yeah, right, dude. I'm not going to get let go. I just don't feel like that's going to happen. I'm going to be very pessimistic about my chances here during this hostage situation. And that's kind
Mhm.
of what this lady is saying. She's like, why should we believe this is true? Sam himself said that somebody else is watching him, which I love that scenario. I just really, really love that. Like, I fully believe someone besides Jess slash the medic lady is on this train watching Sam. That will be
Yeah.
revealed at some point.
Yeah, I think we're heading down the third reveal path at some point. Maybe not. I mean, we are kind of like wrapping up. Like we were getting to the spot of the train handoff. Like we were very close to getting there. So maybe not. But that's the thing about this show is like we do need these twists. So me saying no, I would definitely be shocked to see
Still
that
three
there would be
episodes.
another. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I wouldn't put it past them to have another detonator on board, or anything like that. No one would immediately pop out to me as someone who could be bad. Like I don't think it'd be any of the teachers. I think the older woman who says she's had the trained eye, I think she's past the point of being bad at this point. I think she's
Right.
trying to help. So I don't know where the third person could come from, unless it could be like again, maybe I'm not saying it's May, but maybe someone isn't aware that they were a part of the plan, and then all of a sudden they get a text and they're now a sudden all the part of the plan and they have to do something.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the lady from season one, we had no idea who she was. She just got up in the middle of the
True.
chaos and ran to
Yeah.
the cockpit and killed the pilot and took over. So it doesn't necessarily have to be someone we know. It it should be someone we've seen at least. I mean, I don't remember seeing that lady before she revealed herself, and I thought it was a really, really cool reveal just because it's just like, boom, there's somebody coming in, running to the cockpit, killing the pilot, and I have this plane now. I thought that was really cool, and I'm
Mm.
assuming there's going to be a scenario where that happens again in this season. So I don't really think there's too many people that I'm specifically pointing at. I just think it may be someone watching randomly. And I just think that's one of the coolest things ever. It's like, and then there were none, Agatha Christie, any of
Yeah.
those kind of things where you just know, like, you can't trust anybody. And this lady ends up getting told off by May, so she takes matters into her own hand and she goes up to Jess and she starts talking to everybody saying, do you have a phone? 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 And then she goes to Jess slash medic lady and she's like, I know you got a phone. Pull it out of that bag. And Jess gets very defensive, and then of course it turns into them pulling the timer out of her bag. She's obviously very fidgety about that. She's obviously freaking out about that because she knows the deal. She has to reset the timer. Nobody wants to give it to her. They're holding it back from her. They're holding her up against the train. Sam is saying, give him the code. She explains the situation here, which we already talked about earlier. But basically, the reveal here is a very cool reveal, I think, that her job is literally, as far as we know at this moment, her only job is to make sure that she resets the timer every 15 or so minutes, puts the code in for each carriage bomb, and moves on. And Sam eventually is saying to her, like, just give them the code and let them do it, because she keeps saying, give me it, give me it, give me it. I have to do it. Do you guys
Yeah.
want to die? It's going to blow up. I have to do it. And the guy's like, just give me the freaking code and I'll do it myself. And she's saying no. And then Sam's like, listen, I mean, you're going to die either way if this bomb blows up. So just give him the code. And she starts to. And this is where I like the writing. And I did a little clap, clap, clap for the writers here, because it didn't seem like there was going to be enough time.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't. He's going down the list of the bombs and he's setting the codes, and the last one just didn't make it. And this is chaos, right? They realize that the final carriage is not going to make it. It's going to blow up, and then chaos ensues.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jess's arrogance and wanting to be the one, like, again, it's so easy to nitpick shows like this, but I think for Jess in this situation, she had strict orders to reset the bombs, and she herself probably doesn't know, you know, how sensitive they are if someone else puts in the code. Like, she doesn't want them to mistype it either. Like, she's the one that's been
Yep.
pressing the buttons. So I get where she's coming from. She does trust herself the most with the device rather than these strangers who basically just mugged her for the device and are frantically trying to put in the numbers.
Right.
I get it. I think I had a little bit of gripes about it at first, but I think looking back, it just makes sense that she feels pressured to be the one to enter it. But those few seconds cost them, obviously, because they weren't able to cleanly get everyone out of the back. We don't know how many casualties there will be, but for the most part, some people did feel the repercussions of that blast. And those couple seconds that we spent arguing over the device could have been put in here. So this is one of those moments as well where last week I hit play right after the podcast. I think it's going to be the same thing this week. I have to know what happens. I need to see who lives, who dies. Obviously, Sam's going to be okay. We're at least alive. I won't say maybe okay, but he will be okay. This was like you said, I think this was great writing in terms of they didn't make it in time. There was 15 seconds. They had to cover 8 cars with 4 numbers in each of those 8 cars, and they weren't able to get it all. This is what we want. And these are the kind of cliffhangers that makes shows like this like very bingeable and like want you to keep watching more, because you get these insane cliffhangers that are like, I have to know what goes on. Like, obviously we have these reservations in our head about who lives and who's died, but we have to see it come true on the screen. So it'll be an easy click next for me on the next episode. Definitely.
100%. And with this medic lady, we don't know her deal. We've been talking about this for a couple episodes. We don't know if she herself is under duress, being forced to do this. So there's a possibility that she thinks, just like Sam thinks, someone's watching her. And if she's not the one to put in the code, that something bad could happen to her or in general.
Right. Yeah.
So she may have been saying, give me it, because she was giving that, like you said, these strict instructions. You have to put in the code, nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But this show is made for the binge. They have this ending, and you need to hit next. And of course, we're the Apple TV podcast. We're the core podcast. We're partial to Apple TV. I love Apple TV, and I think it's better than Netflix. And of course, each streaming service has their own positives, and we've covered plenty of bangers on Netflix as well. I just talked about Dark being a top 3 show for me of all time, but I feel like Hijack should have been a Netflix show, because you just throw the whole thing on Netflix, let us binge the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, me and you are sitting here going, we need to watch the next episode. And
right,
we're also sitting here on the podcast talking about it and enjoying ourselves talking about it, wondering what's going to happen next. We know that the lady who caused the problems, she went to her husband and said, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done this, and she fell. I don't know. I didn't see Sam pick her up. I didn't really see anybody pick her up. So I don't know what's going to happen to her. Sam is obviously there towards the back of the carriage when it blows up. Now the train is going to be stopped, of course, and possibly not able to move. I don't know if you could just like take the last carriage off and just continue, but we know the deal here. Something blew up. All the plans are off. Something we didn't talk about was when the train stopped the second time and Sam didn't answer, they aborted the mission with JBB. So now JBB is no longer en route to the train.
That's what I was
3
going to
episodes
bring up.
left. Yeah.
And in terms of, so we had brought up earlier that we were under the assumption that JBB had planned all of this, but at this point in time, I don't think JBB has planned this second stop. Like, because he's not aware that the people on board know everything, and now they're kind of all working together to get out of the situation. And now we have these multiple stops because of us trying to work together. And so I think this is where JBB's plan kind of starts unfolding a little bit in terms of he was not ready to not get on that train. Like, I think he was fully prepared to get on that train and make his escape, but now that's not happening. So how that affects Sam as well, because I know Sam has been he's been getting angrier, and Claire has been trying to communicate, but Sam's like, you're not going to communicate with me unless I communicate to you first and all this stuff.
Right.
And now we're at a point where Sam is good. He's going to find out. One, he already just faced an explosion head on. We don't know who's dead. Two, he's going to find out that the government is now pulling the transaction of JBB, which I'm sure will infuriate him, because even though he has to save JBB, I'm sure his internal plan obviously is still to meet with him in some capacity to either arrest or kill him. So he's going to be pissed. And now things are definitely getting to a point where neither JBB nor Sam can control or foresee what's about to happen.
Yeah, like John Bailey Brown would not know at what point the hostages would take over the train and make this bomb blow up by accident. I can't imagine, maybe there was always going to be part of the plan where the route changes, and maybe it's kind of similar to what they did in season 1 where they switch cars and blah blah blah. Like, maybe the car will be attacked and they'll get John Bailey Brown out. But my assumption at this moment is that it didn't go according to plan, because the bomb actually went off.
What would now also be preventing the passengers / victims and Sam from just communicating with the police also? Like, what is now the hesitation of them just getting on the radio and being like, hey, turns out I'm not the hijacker. John Bailey Brown's been making me do this the whole time. There are bombs on here. Like, we have the code stuff, Oh, I guess.
So the hostages, they're based on what we've seen from plenty of them. Many of them may be like, I'm sorry, but I don't care about Marcia. I'm going to go talk to the government and save us.
I think now that they are aware of Marcia's existence, I think the writers are going to use that in a way that you're saying, like, as a moment of like all is lost moment, where people are like, look, like, we're trying to save ourselves basically, and you trying to save your wife is hindering us from doing that.
Right.
So I think you're right. And they wouldn't, and Sam specifically bringing that up to the passengers, I think is now going to lead to a situation where it's going to be the passengers choosing themselves over Marcia for sure. Because they can just easily just communicate now with everyone and say, hey, we have the bombs under control. Can someone help us out here? Even this guy's wife's in danger, but we don't really care. We're in danger right now.
Right. And I mean, technically the bombs aren't under control, but
they can reset them.
Right. They can reset them. So now they know, as long as anybody that was in the front of the carriage, the guy who had the timer, as long as he still has it, he can keep resetting it. And if a bomb goes off in the back carriage and I'm in the front, I understand that you're running off into a subway station, a train station, where it's just like, again, we talked about ghost stations and it's a maze and it's a labyrinth. I'd be running off that train to nowhere. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I would say, come find me.
That is also true. Yeah. It's like,
so I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Also, quickly, Marcia did obviously have some scenes in this episode. The couple, I guess she says it's my uncle because we did say, she looks younger than
Yeah,
him.
right.
They put the guy, Nick, back into the trunk. He's a dead body. Daniel was calling him. They gave him some kind of text, basically, probably saying, like, it's all good, just to keep Daniel off him for a little bit. Put the phone in the car, took the keys. Now, when they locked the car, Marcia heard it because she was on one of her walks and they didn't realize she was walking near them. Then she actually like reveals herself, which I would not have done, but she reveals herself to
Yeah.
them and is kind of just trying to act normal, and they're trying to act normal, but then they realize like, oh, he's holding the keys. The guy was holding the keys, and they're talking to each other, being like, "Did she hear that? Does she know? I thought she was in the cabin. What's the deal?" So then they're saying, "Let's go check it out." The girl is more gung ho about this, being like, "Yeah, we got to make sure that this is all good." She cuts the guy's hand, goes to the door with Marcia, and says, "We need your help. He cut himself. Can you let us in?" I believe that Marcia's acting nice, but she knows what's good.
Yeah, for sure. I think she totally clocked the keys. I think she understands that hearing the car alarm or the car door locking. She did hear the gunshot too, I'm pretty sure, in last episode,
Yeah,
right?
she
I
did.
think
She
she
did.
heard all that. So I think she's putting it two and two together. And she obviously had the conversation with the guy that is killed now, saying, like, oh, I'm here under orders from Daniel. So I think she's putting it all together, and I think she's fully aware. Why she's letting them into the house, though, it's like, is there a trap that she has like set up, or is she just going to try and get the jump on him?
Yeah, I would say
But I will
ambush him
say,
maybe.
having when the guy kind of had the reveal of the keys, I did kind of get taken out of it a little bit because I was like, you didn't have your hand in your pocket, you didn't put the keys in the
Right.
pocket. Like, I get that it's like an honest mistake kind of thing, but it felt a little too obvious. Like, how, like, you're in the middle of the woods, like how many mistakes can you possibly make? And like holding the keys blatantly in your hand
Yeah.
is just, so I got it like a
Well,
little bit taken out of that, but I get it. Like, you lock the trunk of your car, sometimes you just are like holding your keys. I'm just like trying to like make
yeah.
sense of it, but I was a little bit taken off of like how she saw the keys. I don't think, honestly, if they didn't even show the fact that he was just holding the keys there, I think I would have been even more fine with it, because again, she heard the gunshot, and now she's seeing these two with the gun. Like, I don't think we needed to make it that obvious that she sees the car keys in his hands, that he could have easily just been in his pocket. So maybe
Right.
one
And
complaint that I've had in this episode.
yeah, and also she hears the car and they say
Yeah,
to her specifically, looks like you scared your guy off and he's gone. Well, he's not gone because she just heard the car door lock. So,
right.
yeah, I don't think I would need the keys either. My only defense of that would be that they just were walking away from the car and she kind of like just showed up out of nowhere. And the guy said he thought she was in the cabin. So he probably was just like holding the keys because he thought it was all good. Like he was just walking down the street. Well, not down
Right,
the
I
street,
guess.
but you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Either way, I know what you're saying. Now, last thing before we head out here is the baby bottle was finally
Yes.
revealed. The flash drive was in there. So it's episode 5. There's 3 episodes left. We have the perfect storm here where Sam is going to be in a scenario where, with 3 episodes left, the government slash Ada slash Clara slash Peter Faber, they're all going to know that Sam is actually not the hijacker here. They're going to have, obviously, the bomb, which will probably cause somebody to communicate with them and tell them the truth. Sam may, at this point, think he needs to communicate with them, even though technically Marcia is still under duress. Daniel exists, and he doesn't believe that Sam is this person. The detective is working on his stuff, and we have the flash drive. So there's a perfect storm of scenarios here where Sam is going to be revealed to the government, everybody at HQ, as not the actual bad guy here. And whether it's sometime in episode 6 or waiting till 7, no matter what, I believe by 6 or 7, he's going to be revealed outwardly to everybody that he's not the bad guy. And it's going to be more like season 1, where now he's still working it, but he's no longer playing, hey, I'm the hijacker, I'm the bad guy. He's just trying to fix this problem.
Yeah, this British officer that we're missing all the information to is going to be a big part in what comes in the next episode, like we've already talked about it. He seems to have a place with Detective Beck's storyline and then also with Marsha's storyline. Now, whether this British officer is a double crosser and isn't actually like an officer and is working for JBB, that is something we need to figure out. But these are the kind of questions that we should be asking and having at this point. We're at the midway point. The question now, I guess, really is: when are we going to get this flashback? Like, it has to happen, of what's going on. Is it going to be in the finale? Is it going to be the penultimate? Who knows? But I do see us getting to a point now that we are getting closer and closer to getting off the actual train. So whether that's the end of next episode, I'm not sure, but I'm now on team. I don't think we're going to be on the train the whole season. I think we're gearing up to a point where we can start maybe getting hostages off and or somehow get the transaction back on track to get JBB on the train. How that happens, I'm not sure, but I think we're still heading to a direction where something is getting resolved on the train.
Something that's cool to me, depending on what this bomb did to the train. I don't know how trains work. We've talked about this plenty. If carriage caboose blows up, can you detach it and the rest of the train go just fine? Right. Has the train been screwed up where it can't go? I think one of the cool things would be a scenario where they are stuck in this,
like they are physically trying
tunnel.
To move forward and keep the pretending. Yeah.
Like they're literally stopped in these tunnels that we were talking about throughout all of these episodes, saying how like scary they are pretty much, where you could just be lost. Now, we know that HQ knows where they stopped, so that's not a problem. But I think there would be a cool part if the train is stuck and they have to do some maybe part of episode 6 and figure out how to get it going again, something along those lines. But either way, I feel like the lady who fell and who caused the chaos, there has to be more to her. I don't believe she fell and blew up. I think there's going to be more to her. Daniel's got to get back into this story big time because the Stewart thing was a waste of time. He needs to get on the phone and talk to the people in Germany and Berlin.
What's also in the chip that's in the bottle? Now that we've kind of figured out, like, wasn't the original? Yeah, wasn't that the original goal though, to figure out who killed Freddy, like to see who the third party is? And now that we kind of know it's the girl, like, I'm just curious on what could be on the chip now that reveals more information.
I don't think there's anything that we don't know, because my point of view is that Sam wants them to know every conversation him and Otto had where they're saying, I'm doing this under duress. Everything he explained to Freddy is now being explained to HQ. And
this is his innocence on that chip.
Yes,
basically.
This is him.
Okay.
Right. This is him going to HQ sneakily and being like, hey, my wife, I said this on camera, is taken. Please help her, and I will do anything you want, right? Mm-hmm. It's tough. It took a while in the episode for that grandmother, whoever that was, aunt, whatever, to find that damn flash drive. But it was found, so episode 6, it will come to light. And I know, Dave, you'll be watching very soon to let me know.
Yes, sir.
If I need to hurry up and watch the next episode. But, guys, we went a little long today. We had to talk a little news here. We had to talk some Cosmere. We had to talk some Silo and Dark Matter. I know the episode was only 40 minutes and we went about an hour, so hopefully you guys enjoyed us talking a little news before. But like I said, I will jump on and talk the news more so by the end of this week with a news episode. I will dive deeper into the Cosmere. We'll talk a little bit more about the Silo and Dark Matter rumors, but then we'll talk about everything that's confirmed from now all the way to the end of the year for Apple TV. There's a lot of cool stuff coming, a lot of stuff I'm ready to cover, and I'll be throwing at our text messages, our group chat, saying who's covering this with me. Me and Dave hopefully we'll be back for Silo, but I'm going to have to reel you in for some more coverage maybe if you're available. We know that everybody listening, we also have the Binge Empire podcast, and Dave will be very, very busy coming up because he'll be on Paradise. You're going to be on One Piece, I believe, too.
Yep, that's coming.
You got a lot going on, man. Are you covered? Are you going to be on Invincible?
Yes, I'll be leading the way on Invincible, so you guys better not be sick of me yet. We got some great TV coming our way.
If you guys are a fan of Dave, go to the Binge Empire podcast. And also, coming very soon to the Core podcast in the next 2 weeks or so, we have Monarch Legacy of Monsters. That will be me and Paul. Paul was on Pluribus with me. So if you're a fan of me and Paul, check us out covering Monarch Legacy of Monsters. We currently have Kathleen and Brian covering Shrinking every couple weeks or so. A lot of good stuff coming, and Your Friends and Neighbors will be in April. So, guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. A lot of great stuff coming to the Core podcast. And if you would like to, please check out the Binge Empire podcast. Once again, we are the Core podcast covering all things Apple TV. And thank you so much for listening.